Then why it is developed in a country like India? Let's explore the factors responsible for growth of insurgency in Northeast India. Hello everyone, I am Soumyaranjan Pati. Welcome to Soumya's Diary. Let me tell you what is public order. Public order means a harmonious state of society. All events conform to the established law. Thus, there is peace, tranquility, and rule of law. However, due to certain reason, resentment develops among the members of the society. If the resentment is big one and organized one, it is called revolution. It aims to forcibly overthrow the government and the existing social order in order to bring a new one. We discussed about it in our previous topic, left-wing extremism. If you have not seen it, please go through it. So I hope you got an overview of what, why and how aspect. Let's get a 360-degree view of the issue and discuss some of the questions. But if the involved group is not organized, it is not a big in number, you can call it as insurgency. Thus, in short, we can say that insurgency is a break of public order. It is a irregular warfare. Some say it's a guerrilla warfare. Since it's a small group, they have limited resources, thus they cannot stand before a state whose resource is huge, unlimited practically. Hence, they use tactics like bombing, kidnapping, hostage taking and hijacking. Then why it is developed in a country like India? Let's explore the factors responsible for growth of insurgency in Northeast India. Present-day Assam was ruled by Ahom king till 1826. Due to Burmese incursion, Ahom king requested the British East India Company for help. East India Company helped Assam, signed a treaty and it became a part of British India. However, spark of resentment for political sovereignty was there. After independence, Manipur and Tripura merged in India in 1949. Nagaland, Meghalaya and Mizoram were part of Assam, thus they carved out from it. In 1963, Nagaland was carved out. In 1972, Meghalaya. In 1987, Mizoram. In 1975, Sikkim amalgamated with India after a referendum. Thus, the region became a melting pot of various tribes, language, cultures, history and ethnicity. These factors contributed to the insurgency activity. Let's explore further. Firstly, the social factors. According to Anthropological Survey of India, this is the most ethnically diverse region in India. There are intertribal rivalries. They fuel insurgencies. Similarly, the tribes, they fear for identity crisis as they interact with mainstream. That also contribute to the insurgency. Last year, there was a case study in UPSC examination. While solving the case study, I was referring to this point. Please refer to that video for more understanding. Link is given in the description box below. In that, we have projected development as a panacea. Then why government did not follow the model? The answer is infrastructure development was too slow due to tough terrain. So the Northeast region is rich in resources that makes it economically attractive, but insurgency activities removes the luster. So some people bake their cake in this fire. Thus, they promote the criminal activities. Moreover, political representation in national politics is really low. Thus, ventilating effect of politics is very less. On the other hand, to tackle criminal activities, security forces are deployed here. Since the criminal activity was rampant, the security forces are given extra power under Armed Force Special Power Act to deal with the extraordinary situation. However, human right violation was visible and the human right activists portrayed it as a draconian law. Thus, it is vilified by the insurgent groups. It brings a sense of isolation, deprivation and exploitation. However, there are other factors that contribute to the insurgency. Like the geographical factors, there was an influx of refugees from East Pakistan and demography changed. Thus, United National Liberation Front, that is ULFA, an insurgent group came into picture. Mass agitation started. Again, the population growth put stress on limited land and livelihood. There are also international factors during 1950s and 60s. East Pakistan was providing support to insurgent groups. During 1970s, China was advocating spread of revolution throughout the world, thus provided physical and moral support. And now Islamic radicalization has started spreading into the area. However, as per Home Ministry data, the insurgency activities have reduced to a large extent. Then let's explore the regions. So majorly there are 5 factors that cause the decline of insurgency activities. So the first one is improved relationship with countries like Bangladesh and Myanmar. Insurgent groups get access to resources through these countries. Thus, our improved relationship with these countries dries out the resources for insurgent groups. Then the next factor is ongoing peace talk. When there is a better opportunity through talk, gun loses its luster. Then the next factor is fatigue factor. The ongoing generation is becoming old. They want a way out. Probably peace talk is a better way forward for them. Moreover, government has also taken many initiatives, like forming a ministry to take the developmental activities, inner line permit to maintain the identity crisis issue, constitutional provisions like 5th schedule and 6th schedule area, and formation of autonomous district. A detailed note is given in my website. Please refer to it. Link is given in the description box below. The first factor is just cause. If the insurgency group leaders are doing such activities for self-determination or human right abuse, it provides a just cause. However, if they use unethical means like human shield, kidnapping, it doesn't justify the cause. Thus, the leaders will lose their popular support and the revolution will die. So the next factor is legitimate authority. The leaders need to establish legitimacy through their action. On the other hand, state is a legitimate authority. It has a duty to defend the rights of its citizens. Thus, it can go for military solution. The state should follow the internationally recognized principle jus ad bellum, that is the conditions for self-defense. Moreover, the militant groups and the state should follow the principle of jus in bello, that is to minimize the conflict. Jus in bello advocates for respect of human laws and humanitarian laws. For example, torture and abuse of rights should not be there. Non-combatants should not be harmed directly, and there should not be disproportionate harm to any non-combatant. So applying these principles, we can say that insurgent leaders had a just cause, but the means was unethical. Thus, they had lost popular control. On the other hand, to accommodate the principles like jus ad bellum and jus in bello, the conditions for disturbed area and the condition for the application of ASFA was there. We will discuss it in a separate video. Now let's discuss the way forward. The government should look beyond the military solution and focus on social, political, economical and cultural engagement. Simultaneously, we need to improve our relationship with Bangladesh and Myanmar. Through Bangladesh, we can increase our accessibility to Northeast area. Then we should pursue a workable agreement. While doing so, we should engage with the remnant group. Also, we need to identify the groups that benefit from the insurgency. Moreover, we need to accommodate the aspirations of the local people. So that's all for today. In the next video, we will discuss about the issue of terrorism. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your precious time. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Such value added content, stay connected to me.